Romania, a country perched on the precipice of time. I'm Corin Hardy, and I'm the director of The Nun, where we are filming in the deepest, darkest Romania, Transylvania, a region steeped in mystery and lore. From the rugged Carpathian Mountains to the endless forests covering so much of the country, Romania beckons. Our film crew journeyed across Romania to tell the very first tale in the Conjuring movie universe.
Eastern Europe, Romania in the 50s. The Nun, for me, has a very different look to the whole film.
Dog is looking good. Yes, babe.
Gothic spires, rugged countryside, and subterranean tunnels met us at every turn. But we were determined to film The Nun only as Valak would have it, from the Mecca of horror itself. Located in Honodora and built in the 15th century, Corvin Castle, one of the largest castles in Europe, is one of the 7 terrors of Romania. It provided us with the perfect exterior for the Abbey of St. Carter.
And here we go, and action!
The locations here are imposing and scary. It makes it real, it makes it visceral, and all of those things a good horror movie should be.
When you step into a set that real, I mean, those places have a soul, have a real history. I couldn't think of a better place to shoot a horror film.
We spent a week here capturing hangings, hauntings, and terrors in the night. You could almost hear the screams of those tortured here so many centuries ago, echoes of a violent history.
Some of the locations are up all these winding tunnels and hallways and tiny little staircases. To be able to feel the coldness from the walls and go through the darkness and not be able to see, it helps transform the whole movie.
Ies adeverește aceasta cu tărie, pentru ca aceia care au crezut în Dumnezeu să aibă grijă să fie în frunte la fapte bune, că acestea sunt cele bune și de folos oamenilor, iar de întrebările nebunești și de însușiri.
When you walk through the hallways of this place, especially in the evening, you can feel it. There's a life force here. You know, there are many, many people lived in this castle and died in the bowels of this castle.
From Honodora, we traveled over 200 kilometers east to Krish, where another Transylvanian relic has stood for centuries, Bethlen Castle. A graveyard fit for James Wan's movie universe sprang to life here, as did the nun quarters, Father Burke's bedroom, and the ice house, where a demon waits for the perfect moment.
There's beauty to these locations. I think there's also an inherent creepiness just because of the history that's there. The things that must have occurred on these grounds. You know, they're ghosts of their own.
When you're dealing with a world that pushes the boundaries on reality, it's really important to have a grounded connection. It's amazing that we were able to shoot in Romania and Transylvania because it already authentically has that eerie energy, that Gothic look.
Romania is a faraway country from the US. Beautiful, fascinating. They have created such a fantastic atmosphere. It's magical.
300 kilometers south to Mogoșoaia Fortress, built in 1968 in the classic Romanian Gothic style. It is here where Father Burke meets Sister Irene before setting off on their journey, and the film crew was glad to have a day in the sun. For the remainder of the shoot, we would be in the shadows. Nearby, buried to the south of Bucharest, are the Mogo forts, tunnels of medieval rot and decay, where we rigged one of the film's set pieces. When Sister Irene is held aloft while the demon nun tries to possess her. This in-camera film trick took all the cunning our film crew could muster, and all the bravery from our stars to outrun advancing demon nuns.
Ancient Europe, ancient evil. As a genre fan, I want to see classic Gothic horror storytelling.
For a horror fan, it's like Mecca in a lot of ways.
Romania herself truly was a character in The Nun, and we couldn't have made it without her. Like Valak, she was with us at every turn, casting us deeper into her gruesome horrors.
Hey, so you play the heroes of the story. They're two strong and brave characters, complex too, not without their own past. So who are Father Burke and Sister Irene, and why do you believe they were chosen by the church to unravel this horrific mystery?
Ladies first.
Sister Irene is a young woman on the path to becoming a nun. She had a bit of a difficult and isolating childhood due to these series of visions she would have, which these visions led her to a life in the church. And you know, Sister Irene, she hasn't taken her final vows yet, even though she's full of faith and she's devout to her Lord. She also has that tiny bit of questioning deep down inside her. You know, the church has always told her, oh, these visions are a gift from God. But I think part of Sister Irene would like that confirmed. How do you know these visions aren't coming from something much more sinister and demonic? So when Sister Irene is chosen to go on this mission with Father Burke, she doesn't know that she's being chosen because of her vision. She doesn't know that there's a specific reason why she's the one selected to accompany Father Burke on this mission. And it's only halfway through her mission, when she's there dealing with demonic forces, that she realized she's chosen because of her past. And Sister Irene, I think, is a bit wary of her future, wondering if she's on the right path and if the life of a nun is specifically meant for her, and she finds those answers during this mission.
Father Burke is the best exorcist the Vatican knows. So he is ready to fight whenever it's time to go out and accomplish a mission. However, Father Burke had a terrible experience in one of those exorcisms, and has asked the Vatican not to call him again, to do it again, to practice another exorcism. But being the best and being a soldier, you have to obey, and you have to get up your bed, no matter how many nightmares you have, and how many demons you're fighting, and how many contradictions you live with. You have to get up, get out there, and fight.
How do you prepare these roles? And Demian, starting with you, did the fact that you already played a priest in the past help you?
Absolutely, yeah. I think, you know, the first thing I do is find all the information I need on the paper. And everything you need to prepare for this role was there in the script that Gary wrote. It's great. It's solid, and it has great characters. But also you have to enter a full period of research. And in doing so, of course, I brought back what I already knew about becoming a priest and being a priest from my previous work. And also what I try to do as soon as possible is connect the links that makes Father Burke and I similar in our own virtues and our own fears, and the same contradictions that I, also experience sometimes. And of course, we have the same passion for life and our work, and we will do whatever is necessary to accomplish that.
Yes, could you repeat the question?
Yes, what
just
did
to...
you do to prepare?
Yes,
roles this
yes, yes,
time?
yes. You know, the thing is, when you're playing such a specific character, like a nun or a priest, you want to provide authenticity. You want to do an honest job, because you know, these are real people, and people who, you know, everyone has images and you know, ideas of who they are and what they're like. And I really want to make sure that you do it right and you do it authentically. So for me, I spent lots of time researching online, and I watched The Nun Story with Audrey Hepburn to try and really understand what it is on a day-by-day basis, what, you know, what a woman of faith goes through and what that entails. And some of the things I learned really go to the physicality of a nun and how you hold yourself, how you talk, and you know, making sure that you're correcting all of your flaws on a constant basis. And I mean, that's something that's emotionally exhausting, to point out your imperfections and try to perfect them every single day. So that constant thought process I really wanted to incorporate into Sister Irene.
Speaking of making it real, the nun was shot in Romania and even in Transylvania.
Yes.
How was that experience, and what was the energy like on set?
I mean, it's a phenomenal thing to be able to film on location where the movie's actually set. The movie's set in 1952 in Romania, and being able to be there in this beautiful country that has such a history, has such a soul, has such a gothic, eerie energy, which is exactly what we needed for the backdrop of our film. You know, we got lucky to be able to film there, and you know, half the hard work's done is when you're filming in these old castles that have been there for years and years and years. You know, it doesn't require much, especially from the actors. You don't have to conjure up anything. It's all there. You just have to exist and be and react.
Yeah, absolutely. That was one of the things that excited me when I got the offer, and I just couldn't wait, because they formed the best team possible in every department. And the production design in this film is just fabulous. It's fantastic. Of course, yes, you have the real scenarios, the real locations, but every single detail, you know, that they reproduced the 50s so nicely, and the wardrobe design and all that. Every detail, every element that was given to us was key to, you know, be able to portray this.
Then your characters actually go through quite a lot. How physically demanding was the shoot?
You know, it's surprising, because, you know, you read the script and you're like, oh, okay, this is going to be an emotional day, that's going to be difficult to shoot, and you know it's coming, but once you start filming, you're in the moment, you know what I mean? You're in the scene that you're currently in. And so when we started getting to some of those physical scenes, like filming in this water tank and having to have harnesses and wires and wetsuits, and I had on like 6 layers, it felt like I could barely move. And then, you know, dealing with all that, and then you still have to be the character, you still have to be present in the moment and emotionally connected. So I feel like those are some of the, you know, the more difficult days when you have to, you know, balance that, all those moving pieces.
And how did Corin Hardy help with all those moving pieces and making sure the movie had the right tone?
Well, he's a very passionate artist, and he was prepared way before we moved to Romania. He had everything ironed and ready to go. You know, he had every corner covered. And by doing so, you know, he covered our backs very nicely, and he always took care of us, not only in guiding us through the story, but also in whatever we needed as actors to get to that point, to get from point A to point B powerfully and safely at the same time.
Yeah, one thing, you know, I want to say about Corin as a director, he's so giving, and not just to the actors, to every member of his crew, and making sure that everybody feels confident and is happy with the work that they're doing. And, you know, he knows what he wants, and he's confident, and he's assured, and he's also open to hearing other people's opinions. And if it doesn't work, then he makes the best decision for the movie. But I really love someone who's so open to really including the ideas and of the people that he's purposely handpicked and selected to be with him, so that they can make the best movie possible. And that's why it works and flows so easily.
Speaking of listening to other people, your sister Vera plays another key character in the whole Conjuring universe. Did she give you any advice?
Yes, you know, I think the biggest piece of advice she gave was about work and you know, filming these sort of heavy, you know, dark subject matter movies, she had to do so much research into demonology and demonologists and exorcisms, and luckily my research was a bit more pure and holy, in regards to looking at, the life of a nun. But, the same thing the very similar thing between the movies is that, we're dealing with these forces, these spirits, the supernatural. And she said, my advice to you is leave that at work. Don't bring that home. You don't want that. You don't want that swirling around in your mind when you're trying to sleep. Leave it there, and it'll be the best thing for you. And she was absolutely right.
We definitely don't want the demon nun swirling around, and especially when you have a real actor playing it.
Yeah.
Bonnie is amazing as this. I'm sure she must have given you some scared, before and after the director yelled cut.
Yeah, no, absolutely. When she was in character, I personally couldn't look at her. There was this scene where I was praying alone, and Corinne told me, okay, and then you feel something, and you kind of sort of try to turn back, and there's a presence there. And then I knew Bonnie was there, dressed as the demonic nun. And just to know that she was there, that alone made the whole thing very easy for me to portray. But off camera and, having breakfast and lunch and dinner together, she was a lovely, she is a lovely lady, a beautiful lady, and very sweet.
Yeah. The best part is when you're just conversing with Bonnie on set, and she's a sweetheart, but she's in her full, demon Valak, hair, makeup, wardrobe. And it's so funny just to be talking with her. And her favorite pastime, by the way, was trying to terrify me on set. Because I don't like being scared, and I'm a very jumpy person. So she could just from across the room, she just stop and give me a look with her eyes, and a little grin, a little smile, and I'd immediately get shivers and chills because she's just so captivating.
Yeah.
And out of the ground, the Lord God formed every beast of the field.
The Nun is a story in which we investigate the origins of this demonic entity that will eventually be responsible for haunting the Warrens and entering into their lives and ending up in The Conjuring too. If the audience is watching it is open to a new type of Conjuring Universe movie, they will go on the journey with the characters and hopefully be drawn into this story, this investigation that gets progressively more and more intense and more scary, and also ties in with the Conjuring universe. But hopefully, I wanted to make something fresh and original and unexpected, so that, like good horror, you don't know what's about to happen around the next corner.
There's more of it.
Another puzzle.
Father, is this our answer to whether the grounds are still whole? When we first meet Sister Irene, she is a young woman who is a novitiate in the church. She's on the path to becoming a nun. And that's not an easy accomplishment to try and achieve. It takes a lot of effort and energy, and it's a continuous struggle for self-perfection. So there's this young woman who doesn't think she's perfect on a journey to reach a place where she is supposed to be perfect.
The Nun, for me, has a very different look to the whole film, and even down to the medieval sort of horror setting in Eastern European during the 1950s. And so not only does it take place in a creepy abbey convent, in Eastern Europe, but also the time period on that. And so I don't think I've seen like a mainstream medieval horror, and I don't know why. That is so exciting. It's almost like classic Italian horror film that I haven't seen in a long time.
You don't actually do the gun shot, or you go off there, he go off his action, so you're more like coming in wherever you can, and I don't do the... Yeah.
The story, I think, has a couple layers to it, and I also want to reflect that in the location as well. So, you know, in the first act, we're sort of on the surface or on the outside of the castle. In the second act, we cross over. Now we're inside the castle and on the ground floor and the upper levels. And then in the third act, we start to go deeper into the castle and underneath it as we start to get into the real grit and grime of not just the story, but also the castle. So those are the things I was sort of thinking about when I sort of plotted out and structured the movie.
Action. Damien.
I use CG when necessary, but I'm a fan of trying to do things for real as much as possible in camera. So both the effects, but also the locations, I wanted the film to be, you know, a grounded, atmospheric movie, heightened, you know, through the terror. But if it feels real, that can also transmute through the actors, the performances, the scares.
When we made Conjuring 2, people really love, you know, the nun character, the main antagonist. And so it became, you know, felt like a natural thing to do was kind of expand on her story, where she came from, you know, find out a little bit about her origin and where her character would ultimately go.